This set of lessons is part of a second-grade French immersion unit built around the theme of interdependence. While reading and working with the story of The Little Red Hen, students explore the concept of interdependence between humans and nature, between members of a community, and within human relationships. This is an integrated thematic unit. It encompasses a number of state standards from science, social studies, and English language arts, as well as the national foreign language standards. During several weeks prior to this unit, students planted a variety of seeds, including wheat. Their observations and discussions about wheat and wheat products provided an excellent introduction to the Little Red Hen, which, in turn, reinforced the standards, interdependence among living systems, and evolution in living systems. During the social studies unit, Producers and Consumers, students examined their own community and the roles of various community helpers in providing goods and services. Students revisited these concepts and vocabulary during one of the unit's extension activities, and they deepened their understanding of interdependence between members of a community. The English language arts standards became the framework for much of the unit. Just a few of the substrands included in this unit are: recount stories, including fables and folk tales, describe how characters in a story respond to major events and challenges, compare and contrast two or more versions of the same story. The National Foreign Language Standards are often referred to as the 5 C's. You will find a wealth of resources surrounding the standards on the Carla website. This unit focuses primarily on the three-pronged communication standard: the interpersonal, the interpretive, and the presentational modes. The integrated performance assessment corresponds to these 3 modes of communication. Other foreign language standards are touched upon during the unit as well. Students gain knowledge and understanding of the role that bread and bread-making play in French culture. They make connections with other disciplines as they examine the wheat-to-bread process in science and social studies, and they make comparisons between French and American foods. Finally, while the social curriculum is not defined by standards, it is nevertheless a major component of this unit. Ideas of respect, responsibility, kindness, and friendship are interwoven throughout the unit. In addition, students have many chances to practice cooperative skills as they work with partners or small groups. The preview phase of the lesson is a way to pique students' interests in the new unit, to make connections with material previously studied, and to introduce new concepts and language. What's in the Bag is an easy and fun way to generate ideas and language as students attempt to identify the mystery contents.
Des petites questions pour deviner ce qu'il y a dans mon sac. Alina.
Est-ce que c'est rond? Est-ce que c'est un animal?
Est-ce que c'est une pomme de terre?
Est-ce que c'est du pain?
Est-ce que ça peut être brun?
Est-ce que c'est du blé?
Dans le champ, il ressemble à ça. Voyez?
The Little Red Hen is a story that demands audience participation. Role-playing is a key element of the unit from the first shared reading to the final theatrical presentation. Following the Minnesota English Language Arts Craft and Structure strand, students participate in a variety of sequencing activities. The first is a whole class activity where students retell the events in the story using transition words such as then, later, afterwards, and finally. Next, students are given the same set of pictures and do the same activity with a partner.
Avec le blé.
Finally, students match sentences to the pictures and read the text with each other.
Et la pâte au four. Elle prépare la pâte.
Vocabulary development is, of course, a crucial component of language learning. In Bringing Words to Life, Robust Vocabulary Instruction, the authors distinguish 3 types of vocabulary words which they label Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 1 words are those words that in L1 require no instruction: colors, numbers, animals, and everyday words of a child's life. In L2, these are the vocabulary building blocks of kindergarten and first grade classrooms. These words are of high frequency, easy to illustrate and understand. Tier 3 words are just the opposite. They are low-frequency words tied to a specific domain, such as perimeter, parallelogram, peninsula. These are often what we call content-obligatory words and have limited range of use outside of a specific discipline. Tier 2 words occur frequently in adult speech and in children's literature, but they are not part of our students' vocabulary. They are words that are interesting, culturally relevant, rich in imagery, or just plain fun. In The Little Red Hen, each character has a defining personality trait, so these 4 adjectives, lazy, vain, talkative, and hard-working, become the focus of a robust vocabulary lesson. Part 1 of the activity is assigning a gesture to each of the 4 words. The teacher offers a variety of sentences describing the words, and students show they understand the word by using the appropriate gesture. Next, the teacher reuses the sentences, and this time, students identify the word using it in a complete sentence.
Il a paresseux. Non.
Il est paresseux.
Il est paresseux. Émilie n'écoute pas le professeur. Elle veut parler avec ses amis. Alexandra.
Elle est très bavarde.
Mon frère a parlé au téléphone tout le week-end. Cathy.
Il est bavard.
In Part 3 of the lesson, students write examples of their own. Working with a partner, they describe someone who is lazy, vain, talkative, or hardworking, then share their sentences with the class.
Mon papa dort tout le temps. Il est paresseux. Elle n'aime pas quand il y a des devoirs. Elle est paresseuse. Mon ami parle tout le temps. Il est bavard. Mon ami Alex se brosse les cheveux tout le temps. Elle est vaniteuse.
The final part of the lesson stresses gender agreement as students create new and impromptu sentences to match the illustrations.
Et son ami parle tout le temps. Elle est très bavarde. Paresseuse. Il est bavard. Il est paresseux. Elle est travailleuse. Il est vaniteuse. Elle est vaniteuse. Elle est travailleuse. Elle est bavarde. Elle est paresseuse.
Encore?
Il est paresseux. Il est vaniteux.
In Learning and Teaching Languages Through Content, a Counterbalanced Approach, Roy Lister describes reactive and proactive approaches to form-focused instruction. Proactive activities include controlled practice of specific language features, in this case, the partitive construction. In the story, the partitive is used during the bread-making sequence. Students discover and formulate the grammatical rule governing the partitive, then apply the rule to a list of ingredients for different French desserts.
Des croissants. Il faut du sucre parce qu'il y a le sucre. Pour faire ces biscuits, il faut de la vanille, du sucre, des œufs, du lait et du beurre.
The Little Red Hen is very rich as a language arts lesson, but it is also a wonderful tool to teach about community roles and responsibilities. In the story of The Little Red Hen, one single character plants and tends the wheat, cuts, threshes, and takes the wheat to the mill, and finally bakes the bread. In real life, consumers rely on a chain of producers. In this activity, students learn just how many people it takes to put bread on our table.
Excellent. Vas-y, Henri.
Le boulanger dit je surveille la cuisson.
Le qui?
Le fermier dit je coupe le blé.
Je commande le pain du boulanger. Je commande.
This unit concluded with an integrated performance assessment. You can learn more about IPA on the Carla website. For the first part of the assessment, interpretive communication, students answered 10 questions after viewing The Giant Turnip, an animated folktale found on Northumberland Grid for Learning website. This is a story that is similar in theme and vocabulary to The Little Red Hen. In both stories, the main character plants and tends seeds and seeks help from other characters in the story, but the stories differ in the way that the other characters respond. In The Little Red Hen, the reply is always, "Not I, not I," while in The Giant Turnip, the refrain is, "I'm coming, I'm coming." After viewing the video, students complete a Venn diagram comparing and contrasting the giant turnip and the little red hen. They then write and illustrate one comparing sentence and one contrasting sentence based on their Venn diagram. The interpersonal communication assessment is centered on the social studies theme of interdependence between producers and consumers. In pairs, students completed an info gap activity in which they took turns being consumer or producer. Using picture prompts only, students had to identify the consumer's need and assign the task to the correct producer. The second part of the assessment delves a little deeper into the production cycle. Here, students had to take turns assuming the role of a producer and answer questions about what service he or she provided and for whom. The presentational communication assessment was the culmination of this unit. In groups of 5 or 6, students retold the story in skit form. Each group worked off of the same script, but their task was to change all of the characters, to assign them new personality traits, and to add dialogue for 3 friends. Because this served as an assessment, teachers' input was minimal, and the presentations were videotaped after just a few practice sessions.
Le hibou était très rigolo. L'abeille était très méchant. C'était le canard qui faisait tout le travail. Un jour, le canard demanda à ses amis: qui veut m'aider à planter ces graines de blé? Pas moi. Je dois manger 3 enfants. Pas moi, je dois faire le clown. Pas moi, je dois piquer Monsieur Hibou. Alors je planterai ces graines moi-même. Et c'est exactement ce qu'elle a fait. Les graines ont...
Later, students watched the videos, corrected the errors, worked on their delivery, added props, and ended up with a polished production, which they went on to perform for a number of other classrooms, making this the highlight of the 2nd grade. As you can see, one simple story can lead to any number of meaningful and enriching learning experiences, both in terms of content and language. There are many stories like The Little Red Hen that can support your content curriculum, provide engaging opportunities to use the target language, and make for memorable experiences.